Ooh. Ooh. The silence is broken, the darkness can't hide. With Krista tracking Bigfoot and Brandy finds answers to the other side. Natalie is deep in the LBL, and MaryLynn hears the spirits calling out. The four blondes and the booze are breaking sacred ground. We seek the answers and reveal the unknown. Stories told from places that no one has touched. Tune in now, the search is on. Blondes and booze, the investigation begins.
Hey, how are you?
Hello, everybody.
Happy freaking Thursday.
Freaking Thursday.
Yeah, we have a special co-host with us tonight.
Hi.
He's like, hi.
He flew in from Florida today and is attending the benefit this weekend for Adam out at Emmaus with us.
Yep. So it's going to be super exciting. I have been charging everything that I've got. I got a few extra little added items I'm also bringing. So I'm super excited. Yeah. And so while I was sitting here, this is so funny. While I was sitting here, and I'm cleaning up my desk, and I just realized how much crap I have sitting here from different shows and things that we've done. And it's just laying all over here, and I'm trying to clean it up. And then I just so happened to grab my Happy Cup that Brian got me from Florida. Look at it.
There you go.
There you go. That's a big cup.
Okay, so yeah. So I did drink a
I
cup.
remember that.
Yes.
I drank 1 cup of coffee out of that, and my mother said no more. That was just too much caffeine. So
Yeah.
now,
That could be a whole shot.
yeah. So now it just carries like all of my little toys in it. My little toys, and it's just got all kind. My sanitizer.
I have my Jesus that Brian gave me. Remember he gave us all Jesus?
Yes.
Yeah, I got a little Jesus, and well, my Jesus is in my car, so
I don't know.
that's where it stays.
Just the lag in time.
Yeah,
But
there
it all started off of is I'm trying to find all of my wires, and all this stuff is ran off of these charging things now, which I love because I don't have to spend all the money on batteries on most of my stuff. So I'm loving that. But then I'm like, which one goes to which? I have no idea. Like,
Well, if you don't know, I sure don't know.
I think I just found another one that I'll have to figure out what that one goes to.
Yeah.
So
Mary,
little
how
tags
you
on
been?
them.
It's been a
Doing
long
good.
time.
It's been a couple times, yes.
Yeah, it's good to have you back.
Well, thank you. I am still traveling in a hotel room, so
I see that. And let everybody know, Natalie's daughter is still not feeling very well. So please keep her daughter in your prayers.
yes.
Absolutely.
So yeah, she is still in the hospital, and we heard from Natalie today, and she's doing better. She's just not there yet. So just keep her in your prayers. We'd appreciate it. So we have a really cool show for tonight. And Selene, who most of you guys know, she's been on the Blondes a lot.
Mhm.
We consider her a good friend, and we have her and Ken on tonight. And I'm not going to waste any time. I'm going to bring them up. There they are. Hey.
Hello.
Hey guys.
You guys are literally America's favorite cryptid couple.
Oh,
You are. You
Thank
are.
you.
I didn't mean to say.
Yeah.
You guys are rock stars, both of you.
Oh, thank you. It's an honor to be here. I always love coming on with you guys.
Yeah, you've been on so many times. It's kind of like you're a fixture. You're just
Oh,
I know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for coming on. We definitely appreciate it. And when I was chatting with you, Anne, we had talked about because we're very much woo,
Yeah.
And you know, if anybody knows Ken, you've been on just about every TV show out there, and you're very scientific. And so, you know what better of a topic, you know, the scientific side of the woo.
Right. Well, and that was one thing that was always really interesting, because I remember when we first got together, the question was, well, how are you guys making that work? Because they knew me as somebody that was really kind of out there with the metaphysical and the spiritual and everything. And then you, of course, are very grounded and scientific and everything. But it's been an amazing journey. I think that it's one of those things where it's really taught me the bridges between both of the worlds. And if we are able to do that, you know, and not it's like, you know, if we can share with each other, like if the community can the way that we can, I think that we can get closer to the truth in these things instead of just putting up those walls.
Yeah,
that's a good point. A lot of the subject matter that we study, you know, anything in the paranormal, cryptid, UFO realm, all kind of rests within a liminal space between spirituality, the metaphysical, and science. You know, a lot of these topics do, and there's a lot of different dynamics that we can talk about, like overlapping things. That, but yeah, it's fascinating to talk about. I mean, I'm true scientist is open-minded, I like to think, and so you know, to the paranormal and stuff, I've kept an open mind, but.
And you know what? Honestly, that's what it takes, because, you know, there are so many flesh and blood type people out there who don't have an open mind. They're like, it's just flesh and blood, you know, but at least you're willing to look into that, you know, and have an open mind about it, and not, you know, ridicule all of us that do believe in the woo, you know?
Right. Well, it's also been important for me to be able to do the same, you know, I was on earlier with you guys, earlier episode. I mean, gosh, this was like, I think when I first moved to Texas. So that'd be 2023. And I talked about my Sasquatch experience, or what I believe to be one. And there was the flesh and blood side of it, with the call and the smashing of the tree and the silhouette that I saw. But then there was like the weird side where it was this, you know, doing the Estes method and hearing voices come through the static, and then seeing the being while I'm hearing these things. And from there, talking with you about it, it's one of those things where I've learned so much more, where, you know, like the night myopia and how our eyes adjust when it's becoming nightfall. We can think that we see something there, and then it's gone, and then we look and it's over somewhere else. So that could seem like it's teleporting. And then, of course, the way that our brains work, we're trying to put those puzzle pieces together. And so if we have this predisposition to believe in Bigfoot or what have you, then of course we're sitting there trying to be like, oh, it's a Bigfoot and it's teleporting. And so, you know, but who really knows? And so, yeah.
Well, I mean, Chris and I have been put in positions where, with our personal encounter, that nothing happened that would suggest that it was no more than flesh and blood. I mean, nothing suggests more than that. But we've also seen other things in the woods that suggest something else. That there is more out there than just flesh and blood creatures and things like that. So, I mean, you know, so this is a very interesting topic for us to find where the gap fills in between. So thank you both for coming on. I appreciate it.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. As Brandy said, you know, like, how do you explain the orbs out in the middle of the woods? And, you know that your party is all right there. You know, I've experienced that. Brandy's experienced that. And I can't explain that, you know, but yet we've had two Bigfoot encounters, one in Ava, Missouri, and the other one was in north of Falk, Arkansas. And the one in Ava was 100% flesh and blood. There was nothing woo about it. We heard it, we saw it, nothing funky. However, the one in Arkansas, we were seeing red orbs also.
Wow.
You know, so what is that?
Oh, can I offer a suggestion?
Absolutely.
Yes,
Thanks,
please.
here. Okay. I've heard of from other Bigfoot researchers that claim they see these different types of light phenomenon in the woods at night, orbs and things like that, when they're out looking for Bigfoot and researching Bigfoot. However, from my perspective, you know, you don't have to necessarily create a connection between those two phenomenon just because you're in the woods at night and you see, because look, who's out in the woods in the middle of the night with surveillance equipment?
Right.
Bigfoot researchers when no one else is out there,
That's
right?
dummies.
So there
Guilty.
are probably unexplainable light phenomenon and things that, hey, look, our planet is an organic living thing. It emits all kinds of energy. Energy can result in lights and all kinds of things like that, emissions. And so I think people out in the woods do see these orbs when they're looking for Bigfoot. And because they're predisposed, as Ann said, to think about Bigfoot, and we're here looking for Bigfoot, suddenly this is, you know, it's human nature. We're wired in a way that our mind wants to find connections to things all the time. That's kind of how we evolved. So that's my perspective. I think that it's just Bigfooters are out there at the right place at the right time, seeing things that people don't typically see, you know?
Yeah. Although I do have to say this, Ken, when Brandy and I had our encounter in Falk, we literally were in the middle of nowhere, and it was late at night and there wasn't anybody else around. Like, I can't even tell you how to get back there. That's how far out in the middle of nowhere in the swamps that we were, you know?
Yeah.
But then a part of me is like, okay, could it be on the paranormal side with like maybe ghost spirits, you know, something like that. And they were just kind of there together. I don't know.
Well, that experience itself was, to me, and I say this a lot, it was more, I don't know, it was picturesque, mystical. It was just absolutely beautiful out there. I mean, there was just the beautiful trees, and you could hear all the sounds, and you could like see all the stars, and there was heat lightning going on. So you had that going on in the background, and there were thousands of lightning bugs out there. So it was just creating this effect out there that was just absolutely insane to look at. But then this one red orb or light or whatever you want to call it just was like zipping around, and it just was out of place.
It was about 200 feet away from us, and Brandy saw it first, and we were there with William Lunsford and Stephen Hill and Stephen Hill's wife. And Brandy noticed it, and then we all kind of looked up, and then we all saw it because it like lit back up again. But then at the same time, and this could be coincidence, although I don't believe in coincidence, we heard, you know, we were getting the howls, the hoops, we were being surrounded by something, and then the way the moonlight was, there was an opening, and we've seen these creatures go through like this opening. I can't explain that, you know, and maybe it's bad of us to assume maybe it was Bigfoot related, but maybe it wasn't. Maybe just the swamps were haunted.
Right. I mean, that's true. Who knows? It could be a haunting. It could be a shapeshifter. It could be, you know, I mean, who knows?
Absolutely. Especially in that place. It's a who knows out there. Yeah.
Our mutual friend, Tom Seward.
Oh, yeah.
First Nation gentleman from British Columbia who does the Sasquatch Island. We were discussing, a group of us were discussing this one night at a Bigfoot conference, and he argued that these lights that people see are actually native spirits, and that, you know, that it was connected to the cultures of the indigenous people. So I'm not necessarily a spiritual person, but
that would make sense.
You know, if you are, and if you are open-minded to the ideas of spirits and things like that, obviously the Native Americans were native here for 10, 12, 50,000 years before we ever set foot here, you know, the Europeans. So, so they would have a lot more time to whatever that energy is to manifest into that and stick around. I don't know.
Well, and they have the lore connected to, you know, the hairy man and everything as well. So then it would make sense that they could coexist together in whatever realm that is. So
yes.
Yeah.
I like Ken's explanation of it because you're in the woods, but as a researcher for many decades and someone who was almost a physicist, rocket scientist, I think what we're seeing is these creatures being able to innately reconfigure their molecular structure and electric, currents. And when you go from flesh and blood into another form of energy, we know that's why you're draining your batteries. You need more energy to convert. And then there's usually a spark. And that's what I was, I was flesh and blood up until a certain point. And then I watched this creature go from point A in an instant to point B 2 miles down the lake. So I think it's a combination of a lot of different things. And we just haven't put, that thumbnail in yet.
Yeah.
So I have a question. Being new to the cryptid, what is the woo?
So the woo would be considered anything that's not flesh and blood, like, some people believe they are interdimensional creatures or, different things like that. Anything that's not flesh and blood is considered the woo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so much that goes into that. The woo. I mean, we talk about it, and I believe there is a connection somewhere. There's somewhere. We're finding out new things every day, and again, everybody hears me talk about the big old puzzle. We're putting one puzzle piece in at a time and just trying to figure out exactly what this is. And there's some things that I can't deny, but like I said, when I've had my encounters, which I've had 2, when I've had my encounters where I put my eyes on it, there was nothing that would state that there was anything other than flesh and blood.
Right.
I mean, that is my opinion, my personal view. This is what happened to me. But other things have happened that coincided with seeing that, or during these encounters that would suggest that there's something else out there.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, when Brandy and I had our Bigfoot encounter in Ava, Missouri, like she said, it was 100% flesh and blood. I was in a tent and I saw the silhouette outside. The moon was bright. I saw the silhouette outside of my tent and I heard it. I heard it walking. So there was nothing woo, nothing flesh and, or it was all flesh and blood,
Right.
with that encounter. So I don't know. I don't know.
Can I argue that, and I don't make a habit of questioning anyone's experiences. A person's experiences are theirs, and they know, if they had them or not. But I've done a lot of research into this because it is such an interesting topic within the field of Bigfoot, for example. And there were a handful of researchers that really started the Bigfoot research back in the 1950s. And they included, Renee DeHinden, 48 years of research in the field, Bob Titmus, 30-something, John Green, 56, Peter Burns, 68.
Yeah.
So all those guys spent decades researching only Bigfoot actively in the field. And none of them ever had a woo experience. None of them ever saw light or anything, So the whole idea of a interdimensional Bigfoot didn't really evolve until 1970 when John Keel, author of the Mothman prophecies, wrote about that in his book, Are These Related to UFOs?
Yeah.
And then throughout the 70s, we had a lot of cultural influences like UFO magazines putting Bigfoot on the cover. And the $6 Million Man has Bigfoot as a guest.
Right.
yeah.
And so, I think there's a little bit, we have to acknowledge that there's a little bit of influence here in terms of our biases and beliefs and things that but that's my main argument about, against a lot of researchers that I know that I respect. They're intelligent people and they've, they've had experiences of some type, but why did that only start in 1970? Why for 20 some years were there no woo Bigfoot? And why did none of the pioneers of Bigfoot research ever conclude it was not a flesh and blood creature?
Yeah.
And you're right. You're right there. I mean, it's just like I've talked to some hunters around the Ava area and all that stuff where we had our encounter, and they've been hunting those woods their entire life and have never had that encounter. But the night that we had our encounter, there was like 13 people that had an encounter the same time we were.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just kind of like, we're in the same spot. How come you didn't see them? But we're there for, a few days and we see one. So I get it. I mean, maybe Anne will help me out here, that some people are more open to seeing these things, and that, you know, that we're not all scientific, that we, you know, we have that, what we would call that third eye open. So Chris and I started off paranormal. MaryLynn is paranormal. So we're going to see that extra stuff in the, you know, I mean, maybe that could be it. I don't know. I mean, like I said, this is very interesting to me, where science meets, you know,
you talked about Ken, about, you know, the oldies, you know, talking about, you know, Ron Moorhead. So we've had him on the show, and we've actually investigated the LBL with him.
Yep.
And, you know, he had made the comment that, you know, 40, 50 years ago, he would have thought we were crazy talking about the woo. Now his idea has changed in the things that he saw, you know, since then. So I don't know, like you said, maybe Brandy, you know, if you're open to it, it comes differently. I don't know.
Well, this is kind of where I get into my own belief system here and spirituality. So for me, the way that I think that it works, of why we're here, right? So I think that we kind of have these soul contracts, if you will, before we incarnate here. And in those contracts, we kind of have a blueprint of the things that we're going to experience, because the ultimate goal is to learn unconditional love while we're here. So these different experiences that include joy and also a lot of pain are orchestrated in a way that helps us along that path. So some of us are going to say, okay, you know, I want to take this woo path and these different, you know, connections and experiences in this way. And then maybe, like with you were like, I'm going to be science man. And so I think that's also kind of, you know, what is behind why some have the experiences they do and not others. Because I remember being in healing group when I was practicing Reiki, and some people were really susceptible to it. Like they were able to feel the flow of energy, and other people were absolutely not. And I took that as, oh, well, they didn't sign up this time to have that experience, so they're not going to. There's nothing I can do to facilitate that. So, I mean, that's just kind of.
Yeah, it makes sense. Totally makes sense. You know, Werewolf made a comment here. He says, if you pee near the tent, it draws them in. And I got to admit to you guys, I tell everybody that I mooned Bigfoot, because I did. Like before I went into my tent, I went behind it and I went to the bathroom. I peed. And you can see we got track marks right behind my tent where it circled it. Like, and it was probably 30 minutes after I did that. And that's, so Werewolf, I believe you. And Brandy can attest to that.
The push trail went right around her area.
After I went
right around her area.
So I tell everybody I mooned Bigfoot. I really did.
It was just I, you know, and that is a crazy thing for me to understand that. I mean, I know I need to learn more, and really it's only been a few years at this, so it is, you know, everything is still I'm still learning basically. But the whole thing about her going outside using the restroom, and then the next thing you know, that later that night, then bam, we've got a visitor, and that just amazed me. I mean, I don't know. This is very, very hard, Ken, and I'm going to ask you a really difficult question.
Shoot.
It's like, do you believe that Bigfoot has any human type DNA, which would make it like more drawn to females? You know.
Well, first of all, respectfully, I don't use the word belief so much, because, you know, from my perspective, it's kind of based on the evidence or the data. So belief indicates that you have a feeling about how you want something maybe to be, but I'm not trying to diminish the question. It is a great question. So Ron Moorhead, who you mentioned a while ago, I've been a friend of his for many years, and yes, we disagree on what we think Bigfoot is. Now, he's done research for 50 plus years. And he's a really bright guy. He is one of the people in the Woo Bigfoot camp, Stan Gordon, Tom Powell. There's a handful of guys where I'm like, okay, these guys are really sharp, and they, they're so Brian there, maybe I'll throw him in the mix too. But as far as like human DNA, Ron actually, he's talked about, there's the whole debacle of the Ketchum DNA thing, and it's, Bigfoot's human, and there are actually, it's funny how we have different camps in the Bigfoot field. There's the Woo people, there's the apers like myself, and then there's the humaners, these Bigfoots are human or whatever. And actually the Woo archetype tends to actually classify Bigfoot as more of a human that is 7 feet tall, covered in hair with red glowing eyes that comes from another dimension. So, but scientifically, that's not a definition of a human, right? So, and I actually had this conversation with Ron because, I said, Ron, Sasquatches are over 7 feet tall. Yeah. Well, only 3,000 humans out of 8 billion are over 7 feet tall. So that's not human to be over 7 feet tall. They're covered in hair. Humans aren't covered in hair. And also the receding forehead that most people describe actually indicates a reduced, frontal cranial capacity and a smaller brain size, that they don't have a big human bulbous Homo sapiens head like us. They have kind of a receding head, which is more like a smaller technically brain capacity. So they don't really display any of the characteristics of human. So people that want to say that they're a type of human, it's not even, I don't think accurate in terms of that. So whatever they are. And, we have talked about possible, and I think Ann was just mentioning this, like a mimic type of phenomenon, something that is a shapeshifter or a changeling that can actually take a form or present itself like a Sasquatch or a dogman or a Mothman or a host of other animals and creatures that people encounter. And perhaps because there are a lot of similarities. I'm sorry, I'm kind of taking up a lot of time here.
No, you're good. Go ahead, kid.
Many years investigating the Mothman and interviewing dozens of witnesses that have had encounters with Mothman or Mothman types of beings. Similarly, I've spent a good amount of time interviewing many dogman witnesses and their experiences. And I'm telling you guys, they're the exact same experience except for the appearance of the creature. Hyper-aggressive behavior where they're scratching on windows and peering in windows and chasing cars. And these are all unnatural behaviors. And they seem to terrify people. The trauma is very real. And the bottom line is that they're biological impossibilities. They're anthropomorphic blends of humans and other animals. So I think that this could be the same phenomenon that's basically taking a different type of appearance or form based on the perception of the person that's experiencing it. And beyond that, I don't know, but I think that's what it could be.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, is that the perception of the person, because of what they're going through and their experiences, does that perception make a difference on that?
Yeah, I would say so completely.
I would too.
I was going to ask you, you were talking about a sun something. Do you remember? So it was how the sun would shine on a person. How does that fit into, if you can?
Oh yeah, something called a Brocken specter, which is an optical illusion when you're high up on high altitude. Mountaineers experience this, where if there's a lot of mist up at the elevation and there's the light is coming up behind you, then it actually casts your shadow on the water droplets in the mist, and it looks like a giant humanoid figure with kind of a weird spectral quality to it. And so it's been used as a possible suggestion for some sightings of the Yeti-like creatures up in the mountains. So
that makes sense. It really does. What do you think about, Ken? Also, I've heard of people having Bigfoot accounts where it's in the middle of the snow and then the tracks just end.
Yeah, I've heard those accounts, and I think it could be like Danny at the end of The Shining, where he starts walking backwards in his footprints to get a
right?
No, seriously.
We just watched that movie the other night. That's funny.
Those accounts, lots of weird accounts about Bigfoot exist. But here's the thing. in the grand scheme of evidence and the thousands and thousands of sightings that have been documented on different databases and different things, the percentage of really, really weird ones like that are very small. In the big picture, most people encounter them running across the road at night, or popping up behind their tent, or drinking water, or running through the woods. So the accounts of them vanishing and cloaking, all that, they do exist, but percentage wise, they just don't make up, a very substantial amount of the data, in my opinion. But we can discuss if you guys want to disagree with me.
I'm curious about something. So didn't Linda Godfrey, she had taken pictures of a dogman type of and didn't it stop in the snow? Like it.
Oh, are you talking about tracks?
Yeah, they were tracks, and it was in the snow, and then it just stopped. So whether it's a dogman track or a Bigfoot track or a cougar track, why do you think that they would just stop there and not continue on, especially with no other retreating?
I mean, it's a fair question. I mean, you have to actually be there looking at the trackway, and there's certainly, depending on the landscape and the substrate. I mean, sometimes a track can appear here, but not a foot away from it, because there's a change in the dynamics of something. So, but I don't know. I mean, it's a fair question.
And that's actually a fair answer. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I get that. We were just talking about Mothman just briefly. I have to ask this question to both of you, and you tell me what you think. Do you think, because we've talked about this, we had a whole show about this. Do you think that Mothman is a harbinger, or do you think Mothman is like an angel of death? I mean, that is a question we discuss forever.
Okay. I struggle with this one.
No, good. I got you on a question. I'm loving it. Okay.
I don't want to come off. Okay. So I'm obviously new to all of that research. But I do know, and you're going to have to help me out. Okay. So there was chemicals in that area.
In the TNT area, there were traces of
I don't remember
munitions, and the concrete bunkers were used to store all kinds of toxic chemicals. McClintock Wildlife Reserve, where the TNT area is considered one of the 10 most contaminated, according to the EPA, places in the U.S. So I think that's where she's going with that.
Right. And so there's a lot of things that can happen psychologically in regards to that. And then if you look at the hive mind, it's also easier for people to say, I saw this, and then the other person saying, I saw it too, kind of thing. So the question that I have that I'm curious about is, everybody that reported seeing it, did they actually, or was there a chemical psychological reaction that happened with it? So is there a real account of it? Is it any of it psychological? And that's just my brand, being a baby in regards to that, line of stuff. That's kind of my question on that. But then you have the scree.
Well, we're going to Scotland in August. We're going to be leading a tour with Scotland. If anyone's interested, they can reach out to us. One of the things we're going to be investigating, to your point, Brandy, is something called the Scree of Scotland. And according to some accounts, on the evening of April 15th, 1746, the eve before the Battle of Culloden, the Jacobite soldiers who were gathered watched a black winged creature with red glowing eyes and bat-like wings soar over their heads, right above them. And the following day, they were slaughtered. 1,500 to 2,000 of them were slaughtered by the British soldiers in about an hour. So that's an example. There are examples around the world, not just of Mothman, but things like the Scree of Culloden and Pazuzu, the ancient Assyrian winged humanoid creature, is considered to be a harbinger. So yes, in antiquity, there are traditions that point to these winged creatures being harbingers of something, whether they're messengers of death. I mean, I guess I just made a couple of arguments. I don't know.
It is all confused. Like I said, we had a whole show on it and we were going back and forth and we were going at it at every angle and we're just like, I don't know, just call it what you want. I just go, okay. Just call it what you want.
Yeah.
Well, Andy Colvin, who's the Mothman's photographer, that's his books. He's a big time Mothman researcher. He feels that the Mothman and other winged humanoids are messengers, but it's not necessarily negative. Sometimes it can be positive or negative. It's just their appearance before someone is basically a message to that person, that something is,
When Brandy and I did that show on the Mothman, there was I don't remember what country it was in, Brandy. I don't know if you remember or not, but actually the Mothman appeared and saved a bunch of people from getting, caved in a cave, so I think I even named the show like Angel or Demon, the Mothman, because was he there to, save these people or, because he forewarns of bad stuff,
No, it's fascinating. That's for sure.
It is. It very much so is. It's on my bucket list to go to the Mothman Festival.
Yeah, that would be fun. Just to go check it out. That would be fun.
Mm-hmm. So MaryLynn is new to the cryptid, and we haven't got to take her out to the woods yet, but we're going to.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It's definitely going to be a learning experience.
Yep, for sure.
Because mine is all on the paranormal side.
Yeah, yep. So Anne, I know you've had an encounter. I know you're on the scientific side, but have you saw something out in the woods that you got to say, okay, it's a Bigfoot or it's a dogman or whatever?
Or what the hell was that?
Yeah.
I mean, you got to throw that in there too.
Yeah.
Well, in my 45 years of research or whatever, I've never had a visual sighting of a cryptid. I'm convinced I've heard Sasquatch vocalize a few different times in different locations. I just couldn't see them because they were hidden in the dense brush. And I've seen other physical trace evidence like footprints and stuff, but I've heard some things. I've recorded some vocalizations and things that I'm convinced are Sasquatches. But I've never seen a cryptid with my own eyes in all those years of being in active areas and doing research. Now I have seen a UFO. I saw a black triangle type of UFO while looking for Bigfoot at Charles Mill Lake near Mansfield, Ohio, back in 2003, I think. And this black triangle, totally silent, huge craft soared over our heads. So I'm not saying it was aliens, but it was a black triangle UFO, which people talk about.
Right.
And I've also been, I was on a ghost hunt at the Pride House in Jefferson, Texas one time, just tagging along, and watched a door slam by itself in the middle of the house. And we tried to figure out and debunk that, whether it was a breeze or some. So I have, so that was like, to me, it was like, okay, that door slammed, so it's like, so yeah, I've seen a couple of weird things like that, and definitely heard some strange things, but no, I've never had a visual sighting of anything.
That's why I was just curious because, you've been all over the world looking for these things in some of the hottest hot spots known to man. And that's why I was curious.
Yeah, I've tried to put myself in the right places. I just,
Yeah.
Again, it's my scientific side. And again, not trying to question anybody's experiences, but I've been in the game a long time. And I do have people that will contact me and say, I've had 8 Bigfoot sightings in 4 states. And I'm thinking, well, what am I doing wrong? And I've also had critics say, well, Ken Gerhard's not a cryptid researcher. He hasn't even seen one yet. So, so it's kind of humbling. No, I don't know. I mean, I guess, what you were saying earlier about some people look, we all have filters, right? There are things that we develop either genetically or through the course of our life and experiences. And so some people are able to adjust their filters probably, to experience or perceive things that maybe other people, and maybe my scientific, rigid scientific filters are sometimes keeping me from seeing some of these things that other people are experiencing. I mean, that's a possibility.
Yeah, could be.
Well, my question is did you do ghost hunts or anything like that before you married Anne? Or before you were with Anne? Sorry, before you were with Anne?
Good.
Yeah, we did ghost hunts, and I'll tell you a good story, just a quick story, which I think is really funny. But there was a place called the Emmett House in Ohio that was famously haunted, and I was there with a researcher named John Tenney, who's pretty well known in
I
the
know
ghost
John.
field.
Yeah.
And we
I know
actually,
John.
it was funny because that night at our hotel, we both opened our hotel door for no reason and looked down the hall at each other at the same moment, and we were like, "Did we just?" So we were like synced up. So we went over to the Emmett House to do a ghost hunt, and they had drawn the however many people out, 50 people outside for a break. And so we went inside, snuck in, went to the basement, ultimately found a loose spot in the floor in the dungeon, started digging, found bones.
Mhm.
Suddenly the police are there closing down the Emmett House. It's a crime scene. The whole event is canceled.
Oh no.
And John Tenney are like, "Oh God, did we just screw up
Right.
this whole event because we found bones in the attic?" And they had to investigate. It turned out to be dog bones, which was my first inclination. But so I don't know. I just think that was a funny story because you
Yeah.
bring a cryptid guy along to the ghost hunt and he ruins
Yeah.
everything. So
Yeah, absolutely. So Sean asked real quick, Ken, if you haven't seen one for so long, what keeps your belief and drive to continue?
That is a good question. Well, it is to some extent the sincerity of the many, many people that I've interviewed through their years.
Mhm.
I just mentioned people that contact me that maybe have more sensational stories, but I've also interviewed many dozens, if not hundreds, of very credible people that are very sincere and convinced that they've seen these things, whether we're talking about Sasquatch or Mothman or a
Mhm.
lake monster or whatever. And the eyewitness descriptions are usually very consistent. And, there's a lot of connections that you can find between locations and
Right.
other bits of evidence. And then you also have, reach over here and then, you've got things like this, which is basically physical trace evidence.
How big is that casting?
This is the Jerry Crew cast copy from 1958. So I'm not going to hit you with it.
Well, I want.
Poor Ann.
It's so big, she's got to move out of the way.
Trying to give you space. There you go.
There you go.
This one's, I believe, 16 inches, which is about, 15 and a half inches is the average Sasquatch
Yeah.
trap. But I've got a collection of casts from all over the country, North America, from different time periods. And while they show some variation with regard to different features,
Mhm.
they're largely the same design, so it's, and I don't want to spend a whole bunch of time talking about that, but that's physical trace evidence of something that's leaving giant human-like footprints, not human, different foot design,
Right.
human-like footprints in different locations. So that's very convincing to me that, I don't think those could all be faked or hoaxed or whatever. So.
You know what? Real quick, if we have anybody that's watching that's new to the Bigfoot, what makes the Bigfoot print different than a human track?
Okay, it's a wider foot. It's about half as wide as the length, so very wide. It doesn't have an arch like ours.
Right.
We've developed an arch because we descended from our ancestors were, had to adapt to walking long distances and running and through the field and subsistence hunters. But they have midfoot flexion, which you can see in a lot of, Dr. Meldon called it the mid-tarsal break, midfoot flexion. The toes are relatively smaller compared to the rest of the foot and more even in size. And the heel, the calcaneus, is much longer than ours and wider. So it's exactly the type of foot that would be required for an 800-pound upright hominin to run through the woods of North America. So that's, that's science, I guess.
Absolutely.
Well, it seems with a foot that big that they would be able to walk over all kinds of terrain steadier than we as humans can, and faster, and a lot faster. What I find all those castings just amazing. Now, Anne, have you ever seen anything like that when you have been out? Have you seen a print? Have you seen something that may have looked like it or anything like that at all?
No, I wouldn't say any like physical evidence or anything. I've heard stuff, but that's about it, you know.
Does that deter you from going out again? Did it make you nervous, or would you be willing to go again?
I mean, okay, so I grew up in the woods. I was in search and rescue, all that stuff. I love being out there. My experience that I had in Ohio was definitely jarring because it just I wasn't expecting that. And I don't know.
Let me interrupt you. Was that the one with Heather?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after that, I mean, that night, because of course they had went back out, but they took me, to the house, and I was like, I'm a knower. I'm good. I don't need to go back. So I mean,
I remember Heather. Last time she was on our show, she come on and talked about that.
Yeah.
that you were done. You shut down.
You're like, that's it. That's good. I'm done. I'm good.
Yep, exactly. I did. But I mean, it's one of those things where I would go with you if you wanted me to.
Yeah, we've talked about checking out some areas around here where there have been some alleged footprints and sightings and things.
Well, I want to tell you guys,
like a hike.
You guys, if you guys are ever in Missouri, you call us. We have perfect places to take you guys.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely. And see, we could take care of the paranormal side. If you wanted to, like, UFO watch, we got that. We've got it here.
Very cool.
Well, so I have a question on the footprints. So is there anything like we have fingerprints? Is there anything like identifying that can show differences with them?
There's a handful of I say handful, that's ironic. There have been a few Sasquatch prints that were found that appear to show dermal ridges, dermatoglyphics, just like we have in our hands here, that have been analyzed by, like there was a guy named Jimmy Chilcutt who was a forensic fingerprint analyst who spent a lot of time studying them and said that they weren't from any known primate, but they looked like they could be convincing. But to your point, MaryLynn, I think you hit a really cool question, which is there have been examples of Sasquatch tracks found 70, 50 miles apart in different years that appear to be the same individual. And those were studied by people like Dr. Jeff Meldrum, Cliff Barrickman, and others that said, they lined them up and said, wow, look at the shape of that toe and look at that gap there, even though they're slightly different or whatever. So there seem to be examples where there are certain individuals that you can tell, essentially that they are, this one or that one. And a great example of that is the Bossberg Cripplefoot, which was an individual that left a trackway, 1,089 tracks in Bossberg, Washington back in 1969. And the left foot was totally like this cast that I just hung up. Looks actually very similar to it, but a little different. And the other foot was crippled, and it was kind of twisted, and it was missing a toe, and it was kind of had these bulges sticking out between gaps in the bone. And so who would, come up with the idea to try to hoax a crippled Bigfoot, with a deformity on its foot? I think there were other examples of Cripplefoot's tracks being found other than that one event. So,
in Florida, I researched with a group down in Florida, and they found several interesting tracks with missing toes and deformities in it on the feet. Okay. And in the area we go and research, where I actually had one watching me while I was sleeping in the car, which is always a pleasing feeling. They were able to, that was a little unnerving. But we were able to, it literally tripped over a bike rack, believe it or not. And it put its hand on the windows. And one of the guys is former NYPD forensics. And we have a lot of scientists on the team, real scientists. And they lifted the prints, and there is dermal ridges in there. And it's incredible. And the width of the finger is at least 2 to 2.5, the size of a regular human being. So,
wow.
If someone's faking something, they're going a long way to do it.
Right.
That's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I have a question. I was just thinking about this. This is another thing, and this is another question we kind of ask everybody, and it's kind of funny. So it's for both of you, though. For seeing a cryptid, which one would you most like to see first, and which one would you hope to never see?
I think you can go first. Let me-
Well, my pet favorite in the field are thunderbirds. I kind of got my start in the field of cryptozoology, collecting accounts of thunderbirds. I've built a pretty strong database and interviewed many witnesses.
Yeah.
And so to see a huge bird with a 15-foot wingspan flying overhead, I think that would be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
As far as my least, any of the, I mentioned earlier, Mothman, Dogman, Goatman, Pigman, Donkey Lady.
The goat way. I do not
I
want
have
to
no
come up
interest
with the
in
goat way.
Any man like that, I don't want to see.
anything like that. I don't really want to see, honestly. So
Gosh. The one that I'd want to see. I mean, I guess it's hard for me to know if it's cryptid or if it's mythological. So if we're talking about like kelpies,
we can,
selkies,
I think we can be a little flexible here, can't we?
Would
Just-
that-
Yes,
considered
absolutely.
cryptid?
Sure.
So, I mean, I think it'd be amazing to see a kelpie or a selkie, and because I love the lore.
Do you need to define that? Some people out there may not know, and we'll be
They may
looking
not.
for these
They may not.
on our Mythic Scotland tour in August. We'll be talking about kelpies. What's a kelpie and a
Well,
selkie?
the selkies are these seals that come on land and they shed their skin, and they might have families in some of the stories, but they long for going back into the water, and so they have to, like the partner might hide the fur, because if they find the fur again, they put it back on, they go back out to the the ocean or the sea. And some Scottish clans actually believe that they are descended from the Selkies. And so, and I've got like 70% Celtic DNA, and I love everything about it. I've always loved seals, they're so cute. You can talk on the Kelpies.
Oh, kelpies are the freshwater, shape-shifting water spirits of Gaelic mythology, and they often are portrayed as having the head of a horse, and then the lower half of kind of a fish or a serpent or something like that. And you don't want to run across a kelpie, because they, according to the legends, they'll try to drown you. They create a whirlpool or something and kind of suck you down into the depths and drown you. So
Yeah, we
It's
don't want to come
cool
across the kelpie.
I wouldn't want to see a dog man. I'm good.
I 100% agree. I think
we
that
don't
if
even
there
own a
was
dog, so
Yeah.
yeah.
if there was one cryptid out there that I wouldn't want to see, I mean, I do want to see it. I just want to see it at a distance. That's all. Just
Right.
I'll catch it on thermal. I mean, come on. I just don't want it up and personal. I mean, I still go look for it. And I know, when you get out there looking for it, to be careful, because you might get more than you wanted. I get it. But yeah, I think that would be my pick for sure. Yeah, I would.
Let me ask you guys what your thoughts on mermaids.
Oh yeah.
Well, as a matter of fact,
Here we go.
there have been mermaid sightings off the coast of Israel as recently as 2009 or 2011, I think. But going back a little farther, Scotland actually has one of the richest traditions of mermaid accounts. As recently as 1949, fishermen were describing mermaids off the coast of Craigmore, Scotland. And on a little island called Benbecula, which is in the Scottish Hebrides Islands, there's supposedly a mermaid buried that washed up dead on a beach, and the local townspeople gathered up her body and buried her on this farm. And it's a great mystery as to exactly where she's buried. I have a colleague named Nick Suchik who went over there years ago looking for the mermaid grave. But mermaid sightings were pretty common throughout the 19th century and often appeared, or pretty common around Scotland. As far as whether they could exist, I mean, I guess I'd have to put him in the same category as a dog man almost, because again, it's kind of seems like a zoological impossibility to me.
Right.
But certainly the seas and oceans are less explored than anywhere on Earth. I mean, they average 12,000 feet deep, and there's huge trenches that are 30,000 feet deep. So who knows? Who knows what's down deep in the ocean?
I just don't believe that they're these beautiful humanoids on top and then
No.
the fish thing on the bottom. I just don't believe they're, what you see on the Disney cartoons.
Ariel, right?
Yeah, they're not Ariel.
Ariel, everyone. They are supposedly hideous creatures.
Yeah,
that can and help me here is that they can like use kind of like a glamour,
right,
to make them appear to people as beautiful.
Yeah, that may be the case. I don't. You got both. You got the beautiful mermaid accounts. Some of those were from Scotland. The mermaids were seen brushing their long flowing green hair, and they had pink skin and stuff. But there are some accounts actually of hideous, disfigured, horrid mermaids washing up or being seen as well. So
yeah. I don't know. I don't think I'd want to come across a mermaid. I'm just
no, I don't.
Yeah,
I don't think so. So
go ahead, Brent.
I was just going to say, I just wanted to move on to more of a controversial topic out there, and what you both thought of the mind speak with Bigfoot and all of that, and how you felt about it.
I can go first.
what are your thoughts on mind speak?
Okay, so this is, this is a little hard. So I've had certain experiences in life, right, where something has come to my mind and it's ended up being true, right? So whether it was a dream that somebody told me something, or whether it was a voice that I thought that I heard in my mind, and then like I said, it ended up being true. So I'm not a disbeliever in that phenomenon, if you will, but it's really, really hard to discern between, if you're hearing a voice in your head, it's your voice in your head. And even if it is the sound of something else, I hear his voice when I read his books. And so like, I can hear your voice in my head. So then it comes down to the discernment. How do you know? And then let's say you had the intuition. Well, was it your intuition that said it and then it ended up being true? Or was it the other being or entity that told you? So, there's no way to know. I guess I'm just open to all the possibilities. And I don't think that there's a way to be in a certain camp on that.
Right. So 2 things. I have announced that I have a boyfriend, and this is Doug. So just wanted to introduce everybody so we can put a face with when I talk about him. There he is.
That's awesome.
The next thing is, so on the mind speak thing, and I've said this many times, I do believe that people hear things. I do. I truly do. But I've also experienced things where I want to hear from my grandma or something like that. Then grandma comes through and people are out in the woods and, I want to hear from a Bigfoot or something like that. Why can't something on the negative side of the paranormal come in and portray itself as a Bigfoot or your grandma or somebody that you really longing to see, or talk to, what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, I agree that that's definitely a factor. That can also be a thing. When you get into the whole demon, subject, that's what they do. So,
right. They'll appear to you as whatever you want them to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think we all have levels of intuition, which is what she was talking about. So I think that, we've developed, or that's something we're born with probably based on genetics and so forth. So, we do, like you said, sometimes we do have a voice in our head that's kind of helping us, advising us, or, urging us to do this or that. But to her point again, and this is something we talk about all the time, is, the great mystery within the human mind and what we don't understand about how our minds work. And we have to kind of factor that into all this stuff, right? I've spoken to a neuroscientist who was interested in Bigfoot and took me out to dinner one time. And he said, after decades of research, we have no idea how the human mind works. We really, there are a few physical things that we understand about how memories are formed with proteins bonding and things like that. But the human mind is really the greatest mystery of all. And so we kind of have to factor that in when we're talking about things like mind speak, because, we are capable of fooling ourselves or,
false memories and,
misinterpreting false memories and all kinds of things. So I don't know, but we got to at least leave the door cracked for the possibility that if there's an interconnectivity between all of us and all living things or whatever, which is, a pretty widespread spiritual belief, then there would be a way for us to perhaps communicate with each other.
Yeah.
What about Middle Earth?
Oh, yeah.
Ken, do you have any belief in Middle Earth?
Middle Earth?
Middle Earth. Like, even holes right now in Antarctica are opening up big enough to, you can fly an airplane inside of them. And I just wonder sometimes, even with like Admiral Byrd, when he took a bunch of troops up there, man, to do some study in there in Antarctica, and they came back with these fantastical stories. It just makes me wonder if there's really a Middle Earth and it's not just the Dungeons and Dragons game that I was playing back in the 1980s.
Well, I'm not a geologist, so I don't know. I know that theory has been around since the 19th century. In the mid 1800s, there was somebody that first proposed the hollow Earth, and it's just one of those recurring possibilities that people put out there. I don't know about the feasibility of that or not.
We always talk back and forth about how, in Missouri, it would be so easy for there to be Bigfoot because we're the cave state. And I'm sure that if you're an animal that lives in the forest, every opening in the ground, as opposed to a human that just walks out there for the weekend or what have you to say, oh, I'm going to look around a little bit. This animal's used to nature and it's part of their environment. They would know where to go to hide, just things like that.
Yeah. No, that's true.
Yeah. Yep. What do you think about, because, we hear so many comments and we actually, Brandy and I have good friends who have been like zapped by Bigfoot and, infrasound and things like that. What are your thoughts on that? Both of you.
Well, I think that it's a thing. In my story, I thought that I heard a weird guttural growly sound thing and I didn't feel good. It was definitely a low frequency, but we've talked about, what is it? Tigers or lions?
Tigers use infrasound. Elephants, most large animals can utilize infrasound, which can have a discombobulating effect on prey animals and things like that. So that is something that's mentioned in Bigfoot lore, is whether they have the ability perhaps to emit these ultra deep frequencies, which would possibly confuse, disorient, scare, unnerve us. I've heard some arguments that made me skeptical. Like, there were Bigfoot researchers that say that, the three of us were in a group and Ray got zapped. Well, how come you didn't get zapped? Because sound cannot be, infrasound can't be channeled directly at Anne and miss me. So if, we're all going to get zapped if that's the case. So, those stories we have to be a little skeptical of. I know another researcher from East Texas years ago who claimed that the stench that we often associate with Bigfoot or Sasquatch, this horrible smell, that he was blasted with that. He was close enough to where this thing put its scent on him. And this was verified by other researchers that were with him. They had to take him to the hospital because he got that sick and that was in that bad a way. And he felt like that whatever this thing was, that it had put this bad smell on him, like a pheromone or something, like, or, maybe skunks and other animals can do that kind of thing. So here's the thing though I think about Bigfoot or Sasquatch that we have to keep in mind, because there is a tendency for many people to want to imbue them with all kinds of superpowers. They can use infrasound, they can cloak, they walk like they do spider crawls and red glowing eyes and this and that. And it's like, man, that's a lot of remarkable abilities for any animal, to
Right.
evolve. And the bottom line is that the vast majority of eyewitness descriptions are describing something that looks exactly like an ape, an upright ape, which, there were tons of them inhabiting our planet, 2 million, a million years ago. These things that looked exactly like Bigfoot naturally evolved on our planet. We have their fossils.
Yeah.
So to me, that argues against the other dimension, because if it's from another dimension, why does it look like something that evolved on our planet, over that we can trace? And so if it looks just like an upright ape, why does it have all of these incredible abilities? Now it might, and for sound, you could make an argument for that. It is a big animal, very large, supposedly 800,000 pounds. So it could create those low frequencies.
Right.
So that's the bad smell. Their ability to cloak, I think, is a misinterpretation of how good they are at camouflaging and moving through the forest at night and stuff. I mean, you guys, I'm sure everyone here has seen a deer cross the trail in front of you and stop, and it's like friggin' 5 feet from you and you can't see it,
Right.
Sasquatches have adopted a way to really blend into the scenery and remain very still, and those types of things that could explain some of the allegations of cloaking.
Yeah, well, they're a living, breathing ghillie suit. I mean, they blend in. I think it's simply amazing. Like you just said, it's like they could be 4 or 5 feet from you and you can't see them.
Yeah.
And that it fascinates me, but it scares me also, because I'm afraid that I'm going to just walk up on something and I'm like, uh-oh. Uh-oh. I didn't even hear you breathing. Uh-oh. And I'm sure that they can control their breath and all of that kind of stuff to be almost completely silent and all of these other things to adapt to their surroundings. I just think that they're just absolutely fascinating. I just really do. I'm digging, going down rabbit holes, trying to find out exactly where did Bigfoot come from, which there is really no answer that we know of right now. But it's more that they're digging into history and like Neanderthals and Denisovans, and now they have this new subspecies that they're coming up with, and it's like, is it in our evolutionary line, or is it in the Neanderthal line, or is it a mixture? I mean, we went one way, humans went one way, and then Bigfoot just decided to take a right or a left, which way we didn't go. So
Yeah.
It's a super big rabbit hole.
Absolutely.
It'll keep you busy. It'll keep you busy for quite some time.
It's all fun to talk about. It's really,
Yes.
We're all just professional speculators here. So
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We're speculating. I love that word.
Here's the thing too. There's so much, fighting amongst the community.
Oh gosh, yes.
And we believe in like the woo side of things. Ken, you're the flesh and blood. But here's the thing: we can come together and have a civil conversation about it. I respect your opinion, and I knowing you, you respect ours. And I think that's cool that we can all still get along and be friends.
Oh, and then you take Anne, and she's got a whole different thing that we've not even heard of, and I'm like, well, yeah, okay, well, yeah, okay, and that's what we designed the channel for, is just to bring all these different opinions together and see what we come up with, because it's truly a great thing to be able to sit and talk with everybody like this. I wish it was like this all over, but
right.
Definitely. I think it's important for, adults with different opinions need to be able to sit down and get along and discuss and disagree and say, okay, well, you got a point. Maybe I've got a point. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
But at the end of the day, we're all
key
still
word
friends.
with you saying that it's just your opinion. Nobody really knows for 100% sure. So it's just your opinion, and we should be able to talk about it, but not argue over it. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of the fighting and stuff comes from fear, because when our beliefs are questioned, or our life, life experiences, or the perception of our life and stuff that we've dealt with up to that point, all of that can feel like it's coming into question. And I think that the biggest thing that people should do when they notice that, right, is to lean into it and be like, okay, so fear is coming at me.
Mhm.
What is fear trying to teach me? And then replace fear with curiosity.
Right.
I think that that is the biggest thing and the most healing thing that could happen.
Yeah.
And there's some people that are just so set with their opinion that they're not open-minded. So you're not going to be able to change that. So it is the fear, but they're not willing to make those changes.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
that can be scary. Change can be scary for sure for
It
a
is.
lot of
Yep.
people. So
So
I'm just learning to roll with it. It changes every day. I'm just rolling. I don't care. Let's go.
yeah.
So at the end of the day, you know, that we hear a lot about creatures that, you know, seem so far-fetched, like Frogman, you know, things like that, you know, even when I first heard of a dogman, I'm like, are you kidding me? What are they talking about? You know, and what is one that is underestimated that you guys really believe that is out there?
Oh.
Well, mine would probably be boring. I don't know if are we talking worldwide?
Worldwide, man.
Well, the most probable cryptids, in my opinion, are things like the thylacine or Tasmanian tiger, which is we know existed until the 1930s, maybe up until the 1980s, and there have been hundreds of accounts and some interesting videos and tracks and things. So, I mean, that's an animal that, you know, it's not as exciting and cool as a Sasquatch or a. To me, it is, if these things have evaded detection for such a long time. I think some of the, you know, the orang pendek of Sumatra, which is like a shorter version of Sasquatch. But, you know, here you're talking about one of the most biodiverse areas on the planet where new species are being found all the time. So it's a really dense jungle area. So there seems to be, you know, you could make an argument scientifically that, yeah, that seems to be a more suitable habitat for an undiscovered something like a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch. Gosh, I have mystery. Sorry, kick the table. Mystery big cats in the United Kingdom. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Beast of Exmoor, Beast of Bodmin, basically black panthers that have been reported.
Yeah. Okay.
For many years, and they're not supposed to be there. There shouldn't be any large black leopard-sized cats running around the British countryside. But a few years ago, one of my colleagues, a guy named Carl Marshall over in England, was examining a sheep carcass. A sheep had been killed by something, and he took a hair off of it. And ultimately, that hair was analyzed at a university in England, and it was found to definitely belong to a leopard. So there are leopards running around in England. So that was a cryptid for many decades where people said, oh, no, there's no way there could be something like that running around in the British countryside. But hey, now that, you know, the physical evidence, you know, a hair of a leopard, you know, out there in the British countryside. So I think those mystery, and they had like really, you know, Beast of Exmoor, you know, they had more kind of an aura about them because they were given these cool names and this and that. But so things like that, I think, are the most likely things.
There's one that I think that would be, I think it's cryptid, but it's that woodpecker, the pleated wooded, what is it?
There's the ivory-billed woodpecker, the ghost bird, which has been similar to the thylacine. They existed. They were giant, beautiful woodpeckers with a white bill, and they lived in the wetlands of Arkansas, Louisiana, Florida, Texas, up until the 1930s. But there have been in recent years expeditions to search for a living population, and there's a video, and there's a researcher named Matt Couch in Louisiana who I've talked to who has recordings of their possible double taps and calls and things. So yeah, that's the kind of, you know, if you're a kind of an animal nerd like we tend to be at times, then those cryptids are kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, a show I do with Randy Gilbert, I think we did 3 shows on the thylacine. So it's just kind of like, okay, yeah, I get where you're saying that. But the second thing is I heard some reports. Now you can tell me probably more, but there are big black cats in Texas. They have been seen, they have been videoed, Have they determined what types of cats
Very
these
few.
are?
Well, it's interesting if you bring up the topic of, they're generally called black panthers here in North America.
Mhm.
And I have spoken to many, many people that claim that they've seen them. It's very, very common for people to have seen these big black leopard-sized cats running across the road or whatever at night. And people don't realize a lot of times that they're not supposed to exist here. So people will say, I'll bring up black panthers or do a lecture, and someone will say, I've seen one of those, or my uncle did. Okay, so the only native big cats to North America are mountain lions, Puma concolor, and bobcats, and the Canadian lynxes, right? And bobcats can be black. They have a melanistic gene. Mountain lions have never been proven. There's never been a documented black mountain lion. They may not carry that mutation. It's black color, but people are adamant that these cats are jet black, right? They're huge and jet black. So there are a couple of possibilities. One is that mountain lions are capable of being black occasionally. It's a mutation that we just haven't discovered yet. Another is that people are releasing black leopards and jaguars into the wild, and that they're running around loose. They're invasive animals. And the other one is that jaguars are coming from Mexico up into the United States, and they can occasionally be black as well. So there's a few different theories out there, but I've seen some pretty convincing videos, and I've been involved in some investigations. And yes, there is some type of giant black cat felid running around North America, and that is definitely a cryptid.
Yeah, I saw a couple of videos, and I'm like, that looks like legit evidence that I'm looking at. I mean, without having it, to analyze myself, but I mean, it looks legit. And I was like, that's crazy. But, it makes sense when you say maybe they're migrating north. We never had wild hogs up in this area. We never had armadillos. We never had any of that stuff, but they are so common now that we see them all the time. So, I mean, that does make sense that they could migrate. That was a great point. I didn't even think of that.
Sure. No, that absolutely. Animals can get around and adapt to different habitats as long as they're not too extreme.
Right.
Right.
I don't think we don't have armadillos up here in New York, but I think they've got.
I'll send you some.
They
There's
are
a bunch
moving
out
farther
there.
north, yeah.
So I
You
have
don't
a
want
question. You're referring to some of the animals as being cryptid, but they are possibly extinct. So what makes them a cryptid if they were, I'm just learning this. So what makes them a cryptid if they are an extinct species?
Well, the gentleman who created the word cryptozoology, Dr. Bernard Heuvelmans, intended the word to mean an animal that is hidden from science, or I'm sorry, the study of animals that are hidden from science. And he also invented the word cryptid, which means an animal that is hidden from science. So, so what makes them cryptids is that scientists don't recognize that they exist. They declare that they're extinct and that they don't exist. But, it would almost be a win for the other cryptids, right? If suddenly something like the Tasmanian tiger or the ivory-billed woodpecker were rediscovered, then you could have that discussion with scientists. Okay, well, you said they weren't there and you were wrong.
Right.
So what about Bigfoot, and what about Nessie, or whatever else you want to bring up? They probably still would not entertain the frogman conversation, though.
Right. I mean, it
sense.
sends me back. It sends me back to seeing. It was a documentary they were doing them on gibbon monkeys, and they had lost or thought the Miller gibbon monkey was extinct, and then all of a sudden they just saw one just after all this research. And so I guess that would be considered a cryptid, I guess.
In the traditional definition, it would be. But obviously, people have taken hold of the word cryptid, and that happens in the world where cultures adapt words and those definitions of those words change. So now cryptids do involve things that I don't consider to be animals, like dogman, goatman, mothman, frogman, the Jersey devil, the chupacabra, things like that. And even to some people, aliens, Slender Man, skinwalkers, and Wendigos. So the definition has evolved a little bit. I'm sure Dr. Heuvelmans is turning around in his grave.
He's like, I have no idea what they're talking about today. I don't know.
Right.
twisted that. So what do you think? Because we had a discussion about what do people think the Jersey Devil is. Some people think it is perhaps a dragon-like creature. Some think it's a dogman, or some people think that it's a Bigfoot that's been misidentified. What do you think that it is?
Well, the biggest flap was in January of 1909, and the best observation was by Nelson Evans and his wife, and they described it was trotting around on the roof of their shed. And so that's the iconic image is their description, which is basically a creature that's standing on its hind legs. It's got a horse-like head or a long muzzle. It has bat-like wings. It has long legs and a tail with a fork on the end, kind of like a devil's tail. That doesn't jibe with anything we know of in the animal kingdom. So it seems to be more of a metaphysical or a supernatural. And if you read a lot of the early accounts, if they're true, it was burning melting railroad tracks and doing all these like kind of supernatural types of things. There are many people that have brought up the idea that it could have been a hammerhead bat, which if you look at a picture of a hammerhead bat, which is a large bat from Africa, it has a horse-like kind of head.
Yes, it does.
Like wings, but it doesn't have long legs. But hammerhead bats live in a very, very hot tropical environment, and the idea of a hammerhead bat surviving for any length of time in the Pine Barrens of New Jersey during the winter of 1909 just doesn't make any sense to me.
Something else that's important in relationship to the Jersey Devil, and getting back to what you said, Ken, and both you and Ann have said that sometimes it's what people perceive through their psyche. There's a lot to the Jersey Devil that goes back to someone we all know, Benjamin Franklin, who had Poor Richard's Almanac in competition with the Leeds family that was doing another almanac. Yeah. And it just happened that the Leeds family crest was basically a winged animal with a snout of a horse and a devil tail. So there was Benjamin Franklin was a bastard and trying to bastardize the Leeds family. So if you put that out there in the psyche, sometimes people will just like, I saw that, but and it's not necessarily an actual creature.
It's a projection of the mind.
No, that's a great point, Brian. Could we apply that to dogman, since there were accounts of dogman-like creatures were pretty rare in Fortean literature up until the late 80s and early 90s when the Beast of Bray Road appeared, and then suddenly now dogman is being seen all over the place. It's
Well, yeah, we could apply it, and I'd love to apply it, but there are two experiences I had with dogman. One I was no more than 12 feet from, and another one I was about 20 yards from. And it's a real cryptid. I can tell you that it's real. I've seen it. I have two friends that I was taking Bigfooting. And as you know, I mean, well, if you're doing the research, if you have Bigfoot in there, you have dogmen. If you have dogmen, you have also rakes. It's a little bit of a weird puzzle. And this one path upstate New York, I may send you the directions. If you go to the right at the rock, you'll go to the Bigfoot side. If you go to the left, you go to the dogman side. So I took two friends Bigfooting. Hadn't been there in over a year. It was grown over on the right-hand side, and they came face to face with what I would call a juvenile, about 6 foot, maybe 7 foot, long snout, the ears, big canines, growling from about 20 yards away. And I said, okay, let's go. And they turned around. I said, no, don't turn your back on it. Just back out. We backed out. They still haven't talked to me. It's been about 2 or 3 years. So as someone who's researching it, I really don't want to see it anymore. But I've actually seen it. And that's, I didn't want to believe this. I thought this was like we jumped the shark or something like that. Someone's making up stuff. But when you have the encounter, you have to chalk it up to something. And I don't do drugs, so it was real. And I've had multiple witnesses at the same time.
So would you put the Latvia cynocephali in the same camp as the dogman?
Like a dog-headed man, like in what are you from Latvia?
Right. There was this group of beings that were the dog-headed men that like
Right.
there was this Christian group that came to try to bring them to.
There are certain archetypes of monsters that have appeared throughout history around the world in different cultures. You have the hairy wild man, you have the giant serpent that lives in the water, you have the winged creatures, you have werewolves and dog-headed men and things like that. And these are recurring tropes or themes in different cultures. So you could make an argument, certainly, that they exist and that people have experienced them and encountered them throughout history. That's one argument. The other argument is that there is something going on, psychologically, or, if we want to talk about external forces, ultra terrestrial, some people refer to interdimensional or extraterrestrial. Some people say demonic.
Right.
Other intelligences that share our reality that can manifest in ways that they present to us as these things. So there's, maybe 2 or 3 theories as to why these things are so prevalent, I think. But yeah, I said to your point, that is an archetype. That is, the dogman has appeared, Anubis, and, other examples of dog-headed men or creatures like that throughout history.
And as someone brought up, but I would brought up the same thing in chat, St. Christopher is first depicted as a dog-headed man. If you look at some of the old artwork of them, and he was cured from doing ill and transformed back into a human. It's there. Yeah, there's a lot of things in history. At actually the Crossing Realms conference, I proposed the theory, which I thought I'd get ripped to shreds for in the entire community, that the dogman is literally a defect in the Bigfoot genes, and the Bigfoots ostracize these creatures because they have to keep the purity of the line, hence some of the deformities. But this goes further, and over time these creatures start to mate and evolve, creating another species, basically, or looking species. Do I have proof? No. If I did, the government would have it. So
you would cease to exist as we know you. Okay.
It could be after tomorrow tonight too. So
yeah, I mean, talking about dogman, and there's so many theories out there. Like you said, Ken, about going back with Anubis, Cerberus, the all of this thing of the guardians of the underworld, which would lead me to believe more that they're on the demonic side of things versus on the physical side of things. But there has been many people with encounter stories, and some of them I'm like, they have never lied to me. They have never told me something false just to get something out of me. I don't know what to think about them, because before, like you said, the 80s, 90s, in that the Beast of Bray Road, when that came about, all I knew them as is werewolves. That's it.
Yeah.
There was nothing else. And then all of a sudden this sprung up, and then, like you said, there's been so many accounts of them. I don't really know what to believe on it. I guess we're a lot of us are like that. It's just we don't know what to think about them. And, that's what these discussions are great about, because it just throws all kinds of stuff out there and you just take what you want from it. Just enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This has been a great discussion. It really
has been.
Really
I
enjoyed it.
appreciate you guys both so much. I've enjoyed this tonight. And
Absolutely.
honestly, Ken, you made different points that, I hadn't thought of. So I appreciate that.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
And also, Anne, I'm here to tell you that side of you that is so, I guess I don't even know how to explain it. You just bring up things that we don't think about on the spiritual side. So
Yeah.
that opens our eyes there. So I mean, it's been a great discussion. Thank you both for
Oh,
coming
I
on.
love it. Thank you so much. This has been,
Absolutely.
amazing.
Yes, thank you both. I wanted to say something really quick. Saturday night we have a benefit for Adam from the Half Inch Wrench Crew at Emmaus Village. I have pinned the link at the top of the chat if anybody's interested in coming out and helping him out. We have everything going on there, from ghosts. We have had cryptid activity out there, and Brandy and I and others have seen UFOs out
Yes.
there.
Yeah.
Literally one night we seen 20 of them. I'm not kidding. And I have no idea. We were watching the skies. So whatever your genre is, it doesn't matter. Come join us. We have a band playing from 7 to 9, anthem. And then after that, music, it turns a ghost on. It also brings the cryptids in. So let's see what happens.
Exactly. Let's just make some noise.
That's right. That's right. So anyway, we appreciate you guys and appreciate everybody coming on. And honestly, I'm honored to have you both on here. You guys truly are the cryptid power couple.
Yeah.
Thank
You really
you.
are. And we love you both. And you guys are welcome.
Oh,
to
we
come
love
back
you
anytime.
guys so much.
Thank
Yeah.
you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you to everyone who listened in. We
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
hopefully
We
we'll do
definitely
this again
appreciate
soon.
everybody. And
Awesome.
so
Absolutely.
until next time, turn your notification bells on, because you know what? There's a chance we'll probably be going live this weekend. So just saying.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Just saying. So anyway, good night, everybody, and we will see you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
The evidence is captured. The truth has been found. We documented the proof. Now we're breaking sacred ground. You saw the real secrets that need to be told. The mystery is solved. The case is now closed. Long taboo. But we've got friends who share the same fire. Shout out to the misfits, lifting spirits higher. Check out Paranormal Among Us, Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, and Texas Front Porch. A paranormal world, Donny chose stuff. Truth or tin foil and Bigfoot fades. Go give them a shout. And booze. Join us again when the spirits call out.